of emphasis put on shared use of roadways. In Milwaukee, it was, to a lesser extent, but still pretty good with access for bikes. From growing up here and moving back here, so I've since moved back with my wife, who also is from Niskayuna. We have 2 boys. We live in the Rosendale Estates neighborhood. So I grew up on one side of Route 7. I live on the other side of Route 7 now. Definitely.
But you still have to use a car to get across Route 7, and that's something we're working on.
Right. So exactly. I do see. It is car centric. Mobility around the town is pretty limited.
Okay, Gene, are you ready?
If you do bike or run or walk, if you know what you're doing, you can do it and get around safely. But it's definitely car focused and not as friendly for the other modes. So that was
okay.
Instead of complaining about it all the time, figured
I'm gonna
try to
record it just
get
to be
involved
safe.
and help it out.
Good. So did you ever have any scary interactions with cars when you were biking to work?
Not particularly. I mean,
Bill?
I would say I've done enough that I'm a defensive bike cyclist on the road. Don't put yourself in the situation to have a bad interaction with a car. But a lot of that is knowledge on the pedestrian's part, and then you're assuming that there's good knowledge from the motor vehicle standpoint too.
So we're live. Go ahead and start the meeting now, please. Thank you, Bill.
Well, thank you so much. Are we ready to get started, Laura, would you say?
Yes, please go ahead.
She's on mute.
You're on mute, Laura, if you want.
Oh, you can't hear me. Why? Weird.
Still can't hear you.
Oh, you know what?
There you come.
Yeah, but, I know what I have.
I know what I have to do.
Wait a minute. You gotta be on mute here. Okay, can you guys hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Your voices are filling the whole town board chamber room, if you're curious. Okay.
Actually, there's a little echo. You were crisper before, when maybe it was just the mic or.
Yeah, I probably was, but that's my computer and I can't use that. So,
Okay.
Okay, so go ahead, please.
Okay. Well, I would like to call the September 24, 2021 meeting of the Town of Niskayuna Complete Streets Committee to order. And I'll just quickly run down the roll here. Tess Healy. Hi, Tess. I believe you're with us here. Paulina Manzo, are you here yet, Paulina?
I'm here too, yes.
Okay. Carla. Hi, Carla. Carla's here.
Hello.
I'm here. David Hogenkamp, we heard from David by email. He has other committees that he's working on, and also a busy member with the Land Bank and the Metroplex Authority. So we're going to miss him, but he's stepped aside, and we've got 2 new folks. Dart Strayer, is Dart on board yet? Not yet. Jim Levy. Hello, Jim Levy. How are you today?
Hi, Bill.
Elise Corbin, are you here, Elise, yet today?
She can only
Join us after.
Oh,
Okay.
Yeah.
And Andrew and Catherine have both said hello, so they're both here today. The next, and thank you both, Catherine and Andrew, for giving us a brief introduction and your interest in complete streets in the Niskayuna. Folks had a chance to read through the minutes. I'm hopeful. If there are no corrections, I'm happy to move acceptance of our July 30, 2021 minutes and hope for a second. Carla Dougal seconds that. So the minutes for our July 30 meeting have been moved in second. All in favor of accepting those, if you don't mind raising your hand.
Aye.
Okay. Those minutes are accepted. Under new business, the first item we have is 1356 Balltown Road. And Laura kindly sent some diagrams out to us, and it concerns development behind CVS on intersection of Balltown Road and Van Antwerp Road, which is actually the development of that's been kicking around for probably 20 years or so. But I will let Laura do a little explanation of this project. If you want to start us off, please.
Sure. This is a proposal for townhomes between CVS and CBS. And as you can see, there's also a road connection between Van Antwerp and Balltown Road. It is currently proposed in the plan that was attached to your packet as a private road. But I think this developer had a proposal here before that included apartment units and
Laura, can I interrupt?
commercial.
It's a little hard to hear. I was wondering if there's another option for your mic on.
Maybe, but I don't know if it'll mess it up or not.
First started out, or even if it was closer to your mouth, maybe. It seems like we're picking up the echo while you're talking, and so.
But this makes, yeah, I can't do that.
I have to do it like this. Sorry, is that better? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. And before we ask for them to make a connection between Van Antwerp and Balltown Road, and so this is their new proposal, and I've already said to them a couple times, I think they need to work on a multi-use connection, but it doesn't currently show on the drawing. So I would just like to collect some thoughts from you guys, because this is very preliminary, like extremely early sketch plan that we can pass on to them and incorporate into their engineering if possible.
Laura, could you hold the mic just a little closer to your mouth? Maybe I'm only one struggling, but I'm having a little trouble hearing. So
is that better?
I think it's a little better.
Very early on in the project, but I would like for you guys to submit preliminary comments that we can incorporate to the planning board.
I would like to ask if there's a sidewalk on Van Antwerp Road or an asphalt path.
It is proposed on there. I can bring it up. Let me see if I can do something else with my sound.
Hey, Jerry, can you hear me?
Mr. Mastriani?
Yeah, I just want to make sure you know I was here. That's all.
Yeah, thank you for joining us. I'm sorry I didn't introduce you at the very beginning. Mr. Mastriani from Wyoming Avenue. These are the folks on Complete Streets. So,
Thank you.
Okay. Can you guys see the plan on your screens now?
yeah, I was kind of looking because I know that we are interested in the asphalt. There's a little bit of an asphalt pathway that makes its way all the way down to Van Antwerp Apartments. And we've thought about, how we might get across Van Antwerp Apartments, especially for students to be able to get access to the high school. And I looked at this as carefully as I could, but I was just trying to see if they have a sidewalk or asphalt walk side path along Van Antwerp on this project.
So they have it from like this dotted red line in front of the townhomes all the way to the existing sidewalk. But actually, since you mentioned that, this is off their property, but it could still be put in the right of way. It doesn't connect from here to the Van Antwerp Village apartment complex. So I think a quick, easy comment is the sidewalk needs to definitely go from here to the Van Antwerp entrance. Right?
Laura, this is Jim. That would certainly make sense. If nothing else, it allows, people from the apartments there to get down to CVS and down to the intersection. So that little extra connection would be good. Over to the VA village, to Van Antwerp Village.
Jim, are you having a hard time hearing me?
Anybody else have any thoughts about this? Is it just internally a roadway? I mean, if people came out of their townhouse, are there sidewalks along the roadway to take them over to Balltown Road if they wanted to go that direction, or?
Oops. Hey, Bill, is that any better?
I think it might be.
Really? Maybe it's the microphone. So I'm sorry, I was deciding how to fix the sound. The one thing that I was thinking is I don't know if this is necessarily complete streets, but the last time we saw this, we had them align the entrance to Barcelona. So this is going to go Almeria, then this entrance, then Barcelona. But I was thinking, like, for people walking, it may make sense to have a sidewalk or a multi-use path along the private road that has a public easement, which would allow pedestrians to cross through here. Even if this isn't like a particularly great route to school, it would give people, on Heartland and then the other roads over there a faster way to get to, like, Ace Hardware or ShopRite Plaza or the Co-op or whatever too.
Laura, is it possible for you to go back to your office? I'm struggling to hear you.
Possibly. Hold on.
I think we're all struggling, Laura. I'm sorry, but
yeah, I'm sorry for the inconvenience, but I want to, I don't know, make it worth everyone's time, and including yours.
As folks look at this, does anybody else, Tess or Carla or Andrew, have any thoughts as you look at this, or things that we would like to maybe have the planning board consider to ensure pedestrian and bike utilization of this project?
So, Bill, this is Jim. I don't know if those on the committee remember, but a while back I had, I think I put together a map, but I might have just talked about it, about the idea of a mid-block crossing with a signal somewhere in this vicinity, because so many kids tend to walk across Balltown Road between CVS and CVS 6. And this is right in that vicinity. And just thinking if we're looking at potential improvements to the, along Balltown Road, if there is ever an idea or a chance of getting a mid-block crossing in there, and I know it's a stretch because it's on Balltown, it's a state road, it's got a lot of vehicle traffic. This might be the time to look into it. Again, I don't know that would happen, but there are a decent number of kids that cross there that I've seen in the past. So just putting that out there again as a thought for potential discussion.
Would the state DOT, just wearing devil's advocate, say, look, there's a push button crosswalk at Van Antwerp and Balltown Road. There's another one at Balltown Road. I mean, if you worked for state DOT, would you maybe consider one at Almeria Road, or would the state, what would their response likely be to a mid-block crosswalk, say, between Almeria and Knott Street? Are you talking Almeria and Knott, or between Barcelona and Almeria?
Well, it's somewhere in the vicinity, and I'm not going to speak for DOT. I know it. I think it'd be a tough, a tough thing to get. But to say, I have discussed the fact that there are a lot of people that cross kind of in the mid block there. Whether or not we could justify it and get that approved, I don't know. But like I say, if there's ever a time to discuss it, if others agree, I think this might be the time to do it with the development going in right here.
Okay. One of the items that in our earlier meetings was setting up a meeting with Mark Sicaldo. Is that the right name? Who is the engineer for state DOT that serves Niskayuna, and we do want to have a conversation with him about crosswalks on Troy Road. And I don't know if asking about this, if that's a possibility.
Can I interject there for a minute?
Sure.
Having worked at DOT for many years, I think you should bring up anything that you want to bring up with DOT at that point. If you have them as an audience, this is definitely the time to talk about it. I don't know what kind of, if there's been any pedestrian accidents in that area on Balltown Road. I'd have to look at the crash data to see if there is any. So when you go into a meeting with DOT, it's best to have as much information as possible at your fingertips. So if there is any crash data that people are aware of, that I suppose we can go into the Capital District Transportation Committee site to see if they have it for the last several years. I don't know if
you can also readily foil that information online.
Yeah, but I think the MPO may actually have it too. So we could kind of look there and see if it's available.
Can I see if does that cause feedback for you guys? Yeah.
Okay, that's a good thought. As a matter of fact, just a further footnote to Jim's point that I live really kind of at the corner of Knott and Clifton Park Road, but there are a lot of kids that walk on Crescent Road. They don't go up and use the push-button crosswalk at Balltown and Knott Street. They'll walk along Crescent, and then when they get up to Crescent, they'll go between the cars to scoot over to Balltown Road to get access to the high school campus. And one other item that I've thought about is really just if the state would be willing to put a sidewalk that goes from Crescent Road just down to Rankin Road, just a one block, so that those students that are at the intersection of Crescent and Balltown could actually just stay on the west side of Balltown Road and go all the way down to Rankin, where they could use a push-button crosswalk to get across to the high school. And so it's another thought. And I did want to say, Catherine, we probably have, I don't know, a list of 10 or 15 things that we would like to talk to the state DOT. And in our priorities we discussed in committee was let's try to set up a meeting and bring up our top 3 things that we would like the state to do to help us out in terms of items in Niskayuna, that if we gave them 20, they might just put them in the inbox and say, okay, we'll take a look at these. But if we had 3 things, which might be a school zone at Craig Elementary and a crosswalk somewhere where people could get to Merlin, and even something here on Balltown Road, or even a crosswalk on Mohegan or someplace, so that Mark, when he was a young man, if he wanted to ride his bike to Iroquois Middle School, might have had a place to get across Troy Road. But your advice is well taken, which is we want to go in prepared when we do get an audience with the state DOT engineer. And in committee, we've sort of thought about, let's just identify our 3 top priorities and try to make a presentation on those. And anyway. Okay.
Yeah, and Bill, so yeah, not to continue the conversation, but you're absolutely right. And that's what I was just going to say is, we have our top 3 priorities, but again, as things come up like this, we do have to consider, do we want to do or don't we want to talk about it? I don't know. It necessarily has to be part of that conversation of our top 3 priorities versus this being a specific development related project to discuss. We do certainly need to pull the data, which we can either get from Alice, from CDTC, or the police department could probably provide us with any crash reports in the section.
Yep.
But again, it's if others agree. If you remember, and I can probably dig it up and send it around again if everyone wants. But I put together a map a while ago of kind of where we thought some crosswalks should go. One on Knott Street, one here. There were some others as well. This is just one
we've
of those
got 2 new
locations,
members.
yeah.
I think you should send it to us.
Right. So, we know that there's a crossing, right down the road of Van Antwerp. We know there's one up at Knott Street, but we also know that kids aren't using them. They're crossing mid-block, and this is a longer block. So there's a possibility of that being discussed. I think the idea of a crosswalk at Crescent will never happen. It's too close to Balltown and Knott Street, and too close to the intersection at Rankin. There are other things we'll have to look at, but this is a longer stretch, and so it's just something to consider because the development's coming in. I think it's just see if it makes sense to talk about as we move forward.
Okay.
But I wouldn't say that it trumps our top 3 priorities. That's all, because we worked on it for a long time.
I think Catherine has a good point that this is a development that's underway, and the state probably would point out, gee, we do have a crosswalk at Van Antwerp and Balltown, and but if we do get an audience, and then we probably just need to ask for that meeting that we're going to go in with our top 3, and then we might have a couple others that we would mention while we were there. Well, anyway, go ahead, Jim.
No, I was just gonna say the reason to do it is if we want to do it, now is the time with this coming in. If DOT was willing to do it, it might be that they would say if this new driveway aligns with Barcelona and it becomes a 4-way intersection, maybe they'd be willing to talk about that mid-block crossing, whereas now they wouldn't be. So that's the reason to do it before this goes in the ground. Once it's in the ground, then it's a different discussion. So if there's
so you're saying crosswalk
potential
at Almeria or crosswalk at Barcelona?
Well, in this case, it might be Barcelona if, say, lining it up made a difference. All I'm saying is the design of this development could change the discussion of whether or not a mid-block crossing makes sense.
Yes.
If needed, or the design, they may say no, it's never going to happen. So all I'm saying is now is the time if others agree to bring it up.
Okay.
And DOT will be reviewing this because they're looking for driveway access on the Balltown, a street access on the Balltown. So it will be discussed and brought to DOT for permits and review and other things. So
okay.
It's just a question of how we bring it up and when, I think.
Okay.
That's all.
So is that any better, guys? No. All right. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
It's a little distant, Laura. It sounds like you're getting picked up by like a distant mic, not the one in front of you.
Okay.
Laura, could we do a couple things below before we come back to Harmon Grove Apartments, just to keep the agenda going?
Can you?
How about if we jump down to Complete Streets Connections for School Improvements?
Yeah, wait, sorry, Bill. Is that any better?
Yes,
Yeah. Weird.
it's better.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, go ahead and jump forward. Sorry.
Well, do you want to do Harmon Grove since we can now hear you?
I can. I'm going to have to move my laptop. Hold on.
Okay. Well, how about if I just do school improvements for a second? I try to catch folks up. The school board, school district has actually gotten a bond approved to spend some $69 million plus another 19 on school improvements. And before that came along, the Complete Streets Committee took a look at each of the school campuses, and we made some recommendations to the school district on things that would promote some walkability and bikeability to each of our school campuses. And I'm happy to send our submission to Mark and Catherine so you can see what we were talking about. Basically, they're going to do some improvements to parking lots and some other things, but we wanted to make sure that while they were doing that work, that if there were sidewalks or asphalt pathways coming from the streets into each school campus, that there's some things that we would encourage them to do so that if there were students that wanted to bike to school, or even in the elementary schools where you have a walking school bus or parents that wanted to walk kids to school, that there'd be an improved, safe passageway to get in. The Glenville and Schenectady County have gotten a grant where at Glencliff Elementary, which is off Applause Avenue, they're now going to have a sidewalk along Applause Avenue, which the county is going to do. And then there's a road that goes down to connect to Glencliff Elementary, and Glenville and Saratoga County are going to put a sidewalk. So that's one campus where they're actually a step ahead of us, but going to put in a side path that will get students off the road, those that want to bike and go in there. We also have, mentioned the school zone, getting a 20-mile-an-hour school zone at Craig, and Jim Levy has made some recommendations about some items down the road. We'd like to maybe see a crosswalk when we can get the traffic calmed down at Craig on Balltown, so folks could get across there to access the Jewish Community Center. And most recently, I did have a brief conversation with Councilwoman Denise McGraw, who has taken an interest in our recommendations about a sidewalk on Plum between Van Antwerp and the bottom of the sidewalk at Hillside Elementary. That it's a sidewalk that would come in off of VA and would go one block along a home, and then would be on school property, and then would kind of twist around and hook to the bottom of the sidewalk, so people could really, if they're walking up Plum or they're on Van Antwerp, would be able to get access to Hillside Elementary. And then we're also interested in getting a cost estimate to Councilwoman McGraw on what it would be to do a sidewalk on Cornelius Avenue from Story down to Hillside Elementary. So we're going to share those with her. But, the school district has generally been saying that once you get onto our campus, we're willing to do some improvements. We understand that climate change is on the way, and we want to do our part, that from the school to the roads, we want to have some safe access ways to get to the campus. And then, we want to ask both the town and the county to take some steps to do some things to make it safer for people to walk and bike to schools. So Superintendent Tangora really has been very receptive. I mean, they got our ideas, and they referred us to a meeting with their engineers. So our goal is to get our suggested improvements to each campus in the design diagrams, where if they're going to do improvements to the parking lots and the roadways at the school, that they do this work while they're there. So that's kind of our goal there. Okay, Jim Levy or anyone else want to say anything more about our connections to schools before we leave that item?
Bill, do you have the old maps digitally that you can send to the new members?
We're working on it.
Yes, I'll scan them. Or I think Laura sent them to all of us, but I can scan them, or it's the memo to Tim Bonaparte, I guess was the guy's name that we, it's a September 19, 2020 letter to Timothy Bonaparte from the town. And it had, kind of the map of each school with our recommended connections. And so if I don't have it saved electronically, I can scan it, and I can send it to the two new folks, or I can send it back to everyone if they want it again. So
yeah, either way, I think it'd be good, certainly for Kathy and Andrew to get a copy and see what we've been discussing. We've been working on that for a while, and that way they, kind of see where the discussion goes as we move forward with the school district on that.
And part of that effort is, we can sell a few pumpkin pies and get some money and complete streets to do some things, but it's really not going to go that far. And so we really have to be advocates. Like Glenville and Schenectady County got a Climate Smart Communities grant for about $900,000 that they're using for sidewalk to Sacandaga Elementary and Applause Road and Glencliff. And, the school district has got this bonding. So we're looking at folks that have actually got money to do some things. And we're just kind of trying to help make some recommendations to them on, how they could spend some of that money to help promote really the safety of students getting to their schools. And for instance, the principal at Hillside Elementary is very supportive of a sidewalk on Plum and a sidewalk on Cornelius, and really, Superintendent Tangora, they're very receptive to our input. And the county, a town, I mean, I think Schenectady County is going to get some $30 million, and the school district is going to get some money as part of the coronavirus, relief money, and the town's getting 2.4 million, and they need to spend it on infrastructure. And so if our town board is saying, well, we need to assess areas where we can spend this money, if we as the committee have said sidewalks or side paths are infrastructure, and we'd like you to think about that, and this is money that doesn't necessarily have to come out of your town budget, if you've got some federal money that comes that way. And, we're also want to suggest putting some money that align, say, 50,000 in the town budget, so that if there's Complete Streets money or Climate Smarts money out there, that we've got a little piece that we can use for matching money to get state funding. And I mean, again, regard state money, we've all paid our state taxes, so that's our money that's up there. If we don't be aggressive about grants to spend some of it at Niskuna, then somebody else is going to be spending our share in their part of the state. So,
And excuse me, Bill,
Yes.
the schools might be more receptive right now because of the bus driver shortage.
Yep.
So that students can get to school in alternative ways. They might see that the solution isn't always just to have more buses and more routes.
Yeah, Tess, you're right on there. Actually, at Hillside, I think it was maybe 2 days last week. They actually had to double up bus routes in the afternoon, like at the end of the day. So I'm not even sure how parents were told about that in advance. It may have just kind of happened. So kids were on the bus for extra time. And I actually ran into Bill last week walking my daughter back from Hillside, and told him the number of kids crossing Knott Street now. You can actually see it because high school and middle school are going at the same time. So there are a ton of kids walking between Knott Street and BA right now. So if you just kind of walk around those couple blocks, Clifton Park down to Regent, you'll see an unbelievable number of kids walking back and forth. Most of the high school kids are going one way, and a couple middle school kids going the other way. But it's a lot, and like you say, with the bus issues that they're having, it's definitely a good time to talk about it and the importance of it, because the sidewalks won't need people to maintain them once they're in, the way the buses constantly need people running them every day. So it's a really good point.
Okay. Yeah. And so we really are into collecting, if you have thoughts about the school campuses and, what we can do, the school folks, and I think generally the school board is very open to that input. And so recommendations that we pass along, I think are going to receive a receptive ear. And so we're pushing those forward. And if you've got an idea, like, Jim's mentioned the crosswalk, mid-crossing on Balltown Road. And I mean, I've had the thought about the sidewalk just on Balltown between Crescent and Rankin. In our own committee, we've suggested a crosswalk on Regent and Knott Street for students both going to the high school and those going back to Van Antwerp Middle School. So if you have a thought, let's just add them to the collection, and we will try to do some stuff about them, I guess is the right word. So anyway, anything, Laura, you want to add, or anybody else have anything else they want to say on school improvements?
No, only that. Oh, maybe this is another item. Can you guys hear me okay? Yeah, it's the weirdest thing because now I can't hear me. But anyway, the letter for the school zone was supposed to be reviewed and sent back to us by now. So I just saw that in the minutes for the last meeting, and I will follow up with the school district on that.
Good. Okay. Laura, do you want to return now?
Would it cause another review if you just added the one line, like in light of the bus driver shortage to it?
I think it would be fine. I can reach out to him and be like, hey, what's the status of this? And can we add something about, because, yeah, I mean, I don't mind. I think that's a great angle. I like it a lot.
Thank you.
Laura, I said it on one of the. I said it on one of the school board meetings within the last month or so, month and a half, and I'm pretty sure they talked about the letter that got sent to them. The school board did.
Yeah,
it went out, right?
It went to the board. I just haven't gotten it back from the school.
Yeah, I think they talked about it and said that they were okay with it in concept.
Okay.
But yeah, so if you haven't had a response, but I do believe that they talked about it at the school board level.
My guess is that, Cosmo is just completely overwhelmed with transition stuff and stuff. So I'll just reach out to him and see if he looked at that.
Laura, would our hope be that if we get a chance to see the revised design documents for the outside of the campuses, that our input will be in those designs?
Well, we were supposed to have a meeting with them, so I will ask him about that too.
Okay.
Because he didn't want us to meet with them until at least there were like preliminary engineering drawings, and then we could see, where we could add things and stuff. But we were supposed to have a meeting with the architects, which was really, I thought, encouraging.
Okay. Well, it's worth a follow-up. Okay. Anyone else with a thought on school campuses before we move on? Okay. Why don't we go back to Harmon Grove Apartments, Laura, if you wish.
Yep. So I'm just gonna share my screen again. Oops. Well, I'm gonna share sort of two things here, just for context, because this isn't on the sketch plan. So both, what I was trying to tell you guys before when you couldn't hear me, is that both these projects are extremely, extremely preliminary. They really haven't done any like ground engineering. They're just concept, which is why it's a really good time to be like, should we realign the intersection with Barcelona? Like, should we put a multi-use path along the private road that's public? Like, all those things are thoughts that we can explore now before they spend all the money on the engineering and it becomes like more cumbersome for them to move stuff around. That's what I was trying to say when no one could hear me. But this one is also extremely conceptual. But if you guys, can you guys see that map? I can't get my, but so
We see the aerial.
Oh wait, you know what I can probably do?
We see the Google map, Laura.
Okay, so for some reason I can't point. I'm just gonna have, oh, here we go. Can you see my cursor? Not really. A little bit. So this area here is Amador single family homes. And actually, this aerial's from before they started building the homes, but there's a good amount of homes. There's like 20 or 30 homes in there already. And the proposal that was in your packet is for this area here. Like, so it's kind of between the single family homes. And if you guys see this kind of, octagonal, septagonal, whatever, this is the old tank track. And like, this is the Niskayuna bus. Oops. This is the Niskayuna bus garage. And so, and this is the Hillside Commerce Park. And so like they're talking about putting apartments in here in this chunk of forest right here. So it's like between the single family homes that are being built now, if you guys have seen those signs out, and like Hillside Commerce Park back behind Alice Wagner Way, like that kind of thing, just to give you a concept of where that is. And then I'll bring the plan up here. Maybe. Here we go. Nope. Okay, can you guys see it? So this entrance over here is the entrance that goes to the houses. The entrance sort of to the top of the page is the entrance that goes to Balltown Road. And to the south of this drawing is where it would connect into Niskayuna Commerce Park Drive towards that tank track, just to orient you. So what I see here is like, if you guys can see this is a multi-use path that goes along the buildings and then like around the wetlands and stuff. And it's like a loop so that people who are renting the apartment units would be able to do a couple loops a day to get 2 miles in for their exercise or whatever, which I personally think is great. Hooray. But it's not like a true connection for the public to like move through the apartment complex. So the only real connections that they're showing is they have the sidewalk along the apartments, like on the parking lots, but really nothing going along these main trunks of road. So just to give you perspective, like I would probably want to see like full connection here because there isn't a sidewalk or a multi-use path in the 66 single family home Harmon Grove subdivision. But that's just a loop. Like this would theoretically be a connection over to the Niskayuna Commerce Park. So there would, potentially be people walking or trying to get from place to place. And it's more commercial. So I think that you would want the separation of traffic more, is my thought on that. It's 138 apartments. And this is the preliminary concept, but my opinion, needs some complete streets work.
Laura, wasn't there a desire to connect this area to the town pool, town park
Yeah.
somehow up through that area? Can that happen somehow through this, or at least ensure that we have that in the future through part of this?
When we reviewed this Complete Streets Committee actually reviewed the adjacent Harmon Grove subdivision, and we required them to pave a path connection to the power lines and give us the right to go underneath the power lines so that we could make a trail multi-use path connection to the senior center complex. That's off this map, but that does still exist. And you could actually make that connection in either place. But we did make a stub in the single family homes to make a multi-use trail. Yeah.
Okay, so and this wouldn't really this wouldn't get us any closer then. It's actually off to the side then.
It's a little
in a
bit
way.
off to the side, but I mean, if we were going to do path connections, like I feel like we should do total, right? Because it would be kind of like a sad planning thing if the single family homes had this beautiful, multi-path connection, and then the apartments had to walk through the single family homes to get to their connection where they're sort of equidistant. So if there's a way to plan the same type of connection for the apartment units, I think we should do that too.
Yeah. Okay. Great. And this is all taking access right off of Balltown Road. There's no other proposed, at least not at the moment, another proposed ingress or egress.
Yeah. I'm going to try sharing a different way here. Hold on. But then I get confused with all my windows. I'm trying to
I mean, I would like to echo Jim's point. If there's any anything we could ask the developer to do that includes a connection to a proposed hike and bike path or side path that gets over to the community center, we'd want to do that. And we certainly want the residents in these apartment buildings to, have a pathway where they could bike or walk to get access to the community center, I think, as part of the design. So,
yeah. So it's it may not show up on your screen very well, but this little dip thing here is what the Complete Streets required that the developer pave, which I believe he actually has already paved. And then there's already a trail that goes through the forest. You can kind of see the line like that. And then here's the recreation center. But like this is the forest that they're proposing to disturb. So yeah, it seems to me like you should maybe do something that skirts the power lines and connects up in here or something to make it over there. Yeah, it definitely seems doable to me.
I would definitely like to see something like that. I mean, eventually, I think we could even be connecting the Iroquois Village and others so that they're all, if it's not by, development in cars, we at least have trails connecting up all these apartment complexes, the new residential development, the town park, up somehow through, Hillside Avenue and the school district property. I don't know. I know there are some plans in general, but make sure that's all set and ready to go for the future.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. Because right now the apartments are kind of isolated in the suburban north.
Yeah, they are. And, and there is that sidewalk or path, I guess, kind of going by Iroquois, but then it stops before you get to the Army Reserve. Yeah, there's a gap in there and then it starts again, I think. So there's some work to be done up in there, but if we can connect it all up, so even there's a loop and connectivity between that all and that part of town, that would be great. And then eventually, if we do end up seeing a crosswalk that goes between the J and Craig, it all starts kind of coming together in terms of walkability for people to get from the apartments to the hill, to Craig, and maybe Craig becomes a more walkable school.
Yeah, I can't remember if Complete Streets did this or I did this, but the county put in solar panels here. Like this is, like I said, not up to date. This is actually all cleared and filled with solar panels, and the town required that we got multi-use path easement. So if we want to, at some point, we can cross the solar panel parcel with a multi-use path. So we have an easement for a multi-use path through here.
Okay.
Could you say that again, Laura? I missed it.
Yeah.
We have a multi-use path connection
Easement through where this Schenectady County built solar panels here. This is all solar panels now.
Oh, I see. Okay, good.
It doesn't show on the aerial, but this is all solar panels now. And when they were asking the town for approval, either you guys or me, it was one of us, required that they do a multi-use path easement, which they did. So we have a multi-use path public easement to cross this parcel of solar panels.
I don't remember discussing that. I remember discussing the fact the road wasn't going to go through. That was discussed a while ago through that. But it's great to hear there's an easement. I mean, that does allow for some connectivity to start linking this up.
It might have had to go too fast to go through you guys because it was a town board action, but yeah, we did get
that's
the
great.
easement there.
Yeah, because that whole area of woods there is gone. I mean, it's all
Yeah,
it's
this,
all
this is
kind of
not forest.
yeah, it's all mowed down. It's all solar panels now.
And this is like the only forest that's left, which, makes me sad, but it's privately owned. So, well, there's a little bit up here.
I was pushing the county through SKIAC to do a tree program to replace trees because of the trees they took down for the panels. But I'm still pushing that. I'm not on SKIAC anymore officially, so
I
have less
remember
power.
that. You and I talked about that. I'm still in full support of that as well.
They were okay with it. It's just we gotta keep pushing that rock
Yeah.
to get it done.
Yeah. So if you guys, I'm have a hard time writing down stuff because I'm standing at the podium. But if you guys have comments on this, I can write them down. I'm just gonna move that and go get my pen.
Okay. I'd like to move on to complete streets survey and admit to some delinquents on my part that, like other folks on the committee, I've taken a couple of trips in the last month or two, and I haven't made much progress on the survey. That members of the committee have done some work to kind of put together the answers to open questions, and we're going to, in some ways, it's summarizing those into some categories so that we have an answer to a question, and we have a crosstab table or a frequency distribution that has the answer, and then we have some other open-ended responses, and we'd like to collect those. And then what I was hoping to do was to try to write half a page or something on each question that would be the stepping stone to getting a kind of a full report or a report on our survey that we could share with ourselves and maybe put on our website and share with the town board on what we learned from the survey. So that's some work that I've got to do. Moving on to standard traffic calming measures requests, I was wondering if we could take a minute to let Tess Healy tell us a little bit about Mardella Drive in Colony. And if you would.
Oh, Bill? Oops,
I
sorry, I'm not supposed to touch the mute button. Elise just joined us. She's here with me in the town hall now.
Hello, Lise.
Hello, Elise. How are you?
Do you have any thoughts on the map that we're talking? Yeah. Okay, because we went through them. So Elise is going to take a look at the maps too. And if you guys take a look at the maps and you think of Complete Streets thoughts later, just email them to me and I'll include them to the planning board, okay? Could you guys hear me on that?
Yep, Laura, you're referring to the site plans that were in the packet.
Yeah, the Harmon Grove and the Miller. Take some time to let those soak in, and then if you have more ideas, go ahead and email me.
Laura, I was just wondering, so there's two potential different options for next to the CVS? Because I saw, you didn't show the other one, but in the packet, there was one for single family homes also.
Yeah, that's what they're allowed to do. And so I just put that in there so you could get a sense of the two different ways that they could develop that parcel. If they were to develop the single family home one, I feel like that's a lot easier because you would just make them put a multi-use path along the road. Connection done. But that's not the one that they want to do. They want to do the first one.
Okay. And I was just, it looks like they're building things like right over the wetlands and not having the 25-foot buffer, but I guess it's preliminary, you said, so that'll be addressed later.
They were able to secure a letter from the Army Corps of Engineers that said that they are non-jurisdictional wetlands. They're not connected to anything, and so they're able to fill them.
Oh, okay. All right.
it's something very unusual to get from the Army Corps of Engineers, but they
Mhm.
take care of that.
Will they have to do mitigation someplace else if they build on these wetlands, or is that if they get the Army Corps to say, okay, do they have to do any mitigation or buy some land somewhere else? Or
So the rules have been in constant flux since the time that I've been a planner, but essentially, this is not complete streets related, but very important. The only way that the Army Corps of Engineers is able to regulate wetlands is through a connection with navigable waters. I don't know if you guys ever remember hearing this, like in high school, but and then there became like a significant nexus of connection between a wetland and a navigable water, and so it depends on what political administration is in power and who's interpreting the rules, because they really have gone back and forth multiple times. But if the property can show that there's no like hydrological connection between the wetland and a river, then it can be declared non-jurisdictional, and then the Army Corps has no ability to regulate it. So,
Okay.
So no,
Okay.
they don't have to mitigate. It's my least favorite thing ever when something gets regulated, it gets determined as non-jurisdictional, but it is really rare. And it, generally speaking, was only happening under the former administration. But, you know, the rules can change.
I would say townhomes, we do have older adults that are deciding they can't stay in their homes anymore with leaf raking and snow shoveling and other things. And so having some housing where folks that want to stay in Niskayuna but maybe can't stay in their homes anymore is, I mean, it's not altogether an unwelcome development, especially some apartments where they're close to the post office and the pharmacy and lots of other things. And so, and if they don't generate more, they actually generate less auto traffic in both the morning and the evening, that it may not be a bad option for the town. Okay.
So, Bill, I know that if there's any way to speed the meeting up, I was going to try and have it finish up at 3:30 if possible, because of some of the other things that my staff has to do. But so I know that it's already 3:30, but if we can move through the last couple items.
Sure. I mean, I guess I was just wondering if we had to say a little bit about Mordella Drive, and that could be our last item for the day, or?
I didn't get a chance to review the minutes from last meeting, but did my summary of everything I said last time make it into the minutes?
Yeah, there's a summary, and then I think what we noted, because Jean and I did the minutes a couple days ago, is that we wanted to get a couple things still from the town of Colony, like I don't have. Oh, I do have them in front of me. Hold on, I'll tell you.
And so I tried to get those questions answered this week, but I was not able to connect with my contact there. But I'll work on it again for next month's meeting.
I think that's all we need. It's not like it has to be done right away. I just feel like Mordella Drive is an example of a nearby community that has, I would say, successfully used speed humps, and the highway superintendent, the police chief, the neighbors that are on Mordella Road seem to be happy with it. It also serves a school, and there are, I think, streets. I mean, for the benefit of our new members, we've had some discussions about speed humps, and there is a little bit of reluctance on our town board to use them. But I mean, the thought was, here's an example of a neighboring community that put speed humps in. The neighbors seem to be okay with them. You can plow the snow. The police department is okay with them. They do slow the traffic successfully. And I guess on our committee, if we had a street like Fieldstone Drive, which I'd encourage everybody to take a drive on, which is between Console and really North Allendale over to Central Avenue, is a street where the police department has had reports of higher speeds. And so if we had a road where, say, the average speed on the road was over the 30 mile an hour, or there's a certain fraction of speeders that are going over the speed limit, that, a speed hump this could be an option. And so what we're really looking for is a community that's successfully used them. And I'd encourage people on our committee to drive the street to see it for themselves. And Tess has been working on learning some information. They've got a folder on it that they're willing to share with us. And what we want to do is just put together a little report that we'll have for our own use and to share with the town board on Mordella Drive, and just hope that, you know, the planning board members, Complete Streets, our town board will drive it. We'll take a look at it. We'll look at the report we give them and would say, you know, maybe this is an option that we could take a look at. And so that's kind of why we've tried to spend some time on this street. So anything you'd like to add to that, Tess?
No, that was a good summary. Like the residents there like them so much that when they were removed for maintenance, they got a number of calls to reinstall them. And it really does. I drove them, and it does effectively slow down traffic around their elementary school. And they're also on a couple other roads in the village of Colony. So maybe we could put the summary in the minutes again, or just so that the new members could see it as well, so that they know what we're talking about.
Okay. Thank you, Tess. And Laura, could we
Could I make a comment, Jerry,
Sure.
before you guys?
Go ahead.
My brother was on that committee for Mordella because he lives over on Sunset. It wasn't necessarily for speed. It was for traffic flow. And also the neighbors are the ones that paid for it.
Wow.
That's what I was told. So just to let you know, that's what I was told, and he was on the board. But what I really wanted to do is, could we have 2 minutes with Wyoming Avenue?
Sure.
Where we're at with the stop signs and all that?
Yeah, we did send the memo to the town board recommending the yields be converted to stops. We did ask for the shrubbery to be trimmed back on Wyoming. We did, I believe, make the recommendation that the town board do an assessment of Baker and Lexington as a candidate for a four-way stop.
Right.
And, also the yield at Grimside, that should go to a stop. And
Right.
but go ahead.
Where's all that at?
So that,
Yeah, where's all that sit?
so that got referred to the Public Safety Committee and Highway, and I was told that it's Public Safety Committee now. I presented it to both committees, the memo, and have repeatedly asked for it to be on Public Safety Committee. So the Complete Streets has done everything that they could do there, and they forwarded it onto the town board, and it is back in the hands of the Public Safety Committee.
So the public safety has, okay, because I was bringing the dog up towards Schenectady on Wyoming and coming back down towards Wyoming from Burling, and somebody's flying up there, and we all do. We put our hand up like, slow down. And the lady stopped and she said something. She said, "What are you telling me to slow down for? There's no speed limit sign here."
Yeah.
So going from Wyoming to Schenectady, there's no sign. It's wider than the other streets, and there's still this cut through.
Yeah, my recommendation is to go to the next Public Safety Committee agenda. The Complete Streets really did a comprehensive study and made that memo and voted all in favor of it. And
Okay.
they're a recommendation committee on those type of things. So now it really requires the town board action. And then just, sorry to wrap it up on you guys, but I will get back at the next meeting. I can do a grants update for you and a planning department report on some of the successes that we've had with our projects, like for Eastern and stuff. So I can do that at the next meeting. I apologize for being short on time for this meeting. And then, like I said, if you had any thoughts about anything that you wanted to see included in any of those plans or other things, go ahead and email me and we'll get it all wrapped up for the next meeting. Oh, and the other one thing I wanted to say is that we did roll out the idea for bike lanes on Grand Boulevard, and Jim made some really nice diagrams for me to share with internally.
I think that's Lexington Parkway, right?
Lexington, right, Laura?
Yeah, Lexington. And I think that we're
Okay.
starting to build some support for it. But what we talked about doing was reaching out in the fall and winter and getting people on board and just having it be a slow, not forced thing where people are ready for it. And we've talked to them and we've done door stuffs and we've done letters, and it's been a couple months where everybody knows what's going on. So that is maybe like just offline, we can come up with a letter that we can send to the residents, like with the diagrams and stuff that we have as the next step in outreach. But we can also talk about that at the next meeting, because I think we'll do that in the spring. So that puts a little pressure off of us on that. And that's all I have.
Okay. Okay. Well, I think we may close. We've done really an hour and 10, and trying to keep the meetings within an appropriate time frame. And I'm the worst offender myself. So again, I'd like to welcome our new members, and thank you to the folks that could make it today. And we'll be getting some more materials out, and our thoughts today will be captured in the minutes. And also, you can watch the meeting on YouTube, which will be out in a day or two. And so, if we're unclear about something, you can catch it out there.